Kenya's 2007 general elections came against the backdrop of high political tensions brought about by suspicions of rigging.
Honorable Mwai Kibaki, 4,584,721. Honorable Raila Odinga, 4,352,993. This means Honorable Mwai Kibaki is the winner. The Commission therefore declares Honorable Mwai Kibaki as the President of Kenya.
As soon as this announcement was made, violence broke out almost simultaneously across the country. This came at a time when the Canadian government had just approved the Democratic Governance Fund for Kenya.
The uniqueness is that it is a flexible fund, locally controlled under the authority of the head of aid, with approval authorities locally. As the name suggests, it is supposed to be flexible, it is supposed to be responsive, it is supposed to be quick, it is supposed to sort of enable these other programs.
Basically, we do gender mainstreaming or gender integration, which means we actually ensure that programs that are funded through the by D must ensure that gender issues and gender concerns are captured.
Being a responsive fund, part of it was channeled to support peace processes. The Kofi Annan process eventually brought together the two principals, that is Mwai Kibaki and Raila Odinga, to sign a peace accord which created the coalition government of 2008. Relative peace was thus restored, but political tension was still high. Moreover, the need for a new constitution and historical injustices were identified as issues that were threatening stability and peace. The Canadian Fund, therefore, decided to channel funding to some NGOs and CBOs, including Uraia, Hivos, and ACT. The selected NGOs and CBOs were taken through capacity building programs in preparation for the challenging work ahead. Here, senior officials and program managers are in a workshop to guide them on how to mobilize resources. Financial resources are key to the success of any project. Meanwhile, the Canadian Fund continued to contribute to the Committee of Experts, which was established to consolidate previous drafts of the Constitution and fine-tune the final document for approval by Parliament. Indeed, in August 2010, the then President Kibaki signed and unveiled the new Constitution of Kenya at a colorful ceremony in Nairobi. With the support of the fund, NGOs and CBOs mounted full-scale strategic civic education in different parts of the country to unpack details of the new constitution and promote cohesion. At the coast, Uraia led this initiative, which involved a coalition of NGOs and CBOs, including Ujamaa.
And this is another key success for the SIDA Canada initiative. The fact that it started so well in advance. It was the first sort of election-related initiative that started in the coastal region. And so it laid a lot of groundwork for any future initiatives that were carried out either by our partners or any other citizen organization around elections. So the success of election initiatives to a large extent can be linked to the early response of SIDA Canada in the coastal region.
We were able to disseminate information through radio, which was a very powerful thing. We did radio programs that were talking to these specific issues and trying to highlight them so that people can understand in the popular radios here, Radio Baraka and Radio Salam. We were also able to do public forums, not the ordinary NGO type workshops, but forums that were done in open spaces, took the model of rallies, we used theater groups, so that we were able to discuss taboo issues and the difficult conversations that we don't have, so that people can prepare to go to this first historic election after the passing of our constitution in 2010.
To SIDA Canada, Ujamaa is very grateful for the resources you put on the ground to implement the project on peace, security, and coexistence. SIDA Canada were the first donor institution to hit the ground, and that made other donor institutions come after the SIDA Canada program. So the others were just to strengthen what SIDA Canada had already implemented on the ground, and that contributed to peaceful elections in Coast Region. Thank you, SIDA Canada.
There were 4 activities. The training of trainer, county dialogues ambao ndio hizo forums kuelimisha watu kuhusu katiba. Kulikuwa kuna monitoring voter registration na mock election. We had to prepare people for registration of voting. So for us to be able to do that, we tackled it from birth, people getting birth certificates, then people getting IDs, so in the process they can register. Because through our forums we realized that many youth don't have vitambulisho. We wanted to kuelimisha watu hii election itakuwa vipi. Tukaenda vijijini kuelimisha watu vile wakiingia watampata nani. So we did that in several counties, the 6 counties coast.
Uraia towards the run up to last elections ilisaidia kufanya quite a number of things. Hiyo issue ya MRC ya election was one thing, kwa sababu ile slogan ya kwani si Kenya ilikuwa inaambatana na hakuna kura pwani. So walikuwa wakisema kwani si Kenya hakuna kura pwani. So basically that meant kwamba watu walikuwa hawatakikani kwenda ku register as voters. So sisi as an organization through specifically Uraia, we did engage them, and we engaged them basically on the issue of election. Yes, sawa, tunasema tunataka kwani ichukue Kenya. This is going to be a process. It is possible, it has happened in other countries and all that. But also for this election, if we are not careful, we'll have useless leaders ambao hawatatusaidia sisi kuweza kufikia pale mahali ambapo tunaenda. That was the approach ambayo tulikuwa tukitumia. And imekuwa to some extent I think it worked, kwa sababu ikiwa tulikuwa tunaweza kuwaita kwa mkutano na tukaketi na wao half a day, MRC kuwafungia mahali half a day was not easy.
When we were doing this community awareness forums, community sensitizations, we were trying to tell the people that you are one. It does not matter your tribe, it does not matter your religion. Because whether you go to religion, you will find your kinsmen there. Whether you go to a tribe, you will find somebody you are related to, you consider yourself one. And you find that during that time of campaigns, in the same 2012, there were a series of attacks in Likoni. And there was one church that was having a crusade in Likoni, and it was attacked by Muslim youth. The fact that the church could not reduce their volume or could not direct their speaker somewhere else, iliudhi hawa vijana, and so they had to attack. But the person who came to resolve the issue was a Muslim cleric, whereby everybody expected that the Muslim cleric would side with the youth, but he had to come and stop the youth from destroying the church property. And then after that, he facilitated a dialogue session between the church leaders and the youths and the mosque management. For me, that was something I would say was a plus.
The media was also identified as an important tool in promoting peace and good governance. The Kenya Media Program was funded for this purpose and implemented by HIVOS Kenya.
We contribute to the DAP's objectives through strengthening the media sector by giving grants to produce local content, of course geared towards issues of impunity, reforms and service delivery. We are working towards providing quality journalism or improving whatever exists. We're working on safety and protection of journalists, because we realize it's a really big deal, especially when you're working with individual journalists to do investigative work. So at the beginning, the applications that were coming in hardly had any women.
And if they had, they were doing what I would call the softer issues, the health, and then we specifically decided to reach out to organizations that are already working with women journalists, and through them encourage them to apply for grants, and also demystify that investigative is not just what John Allen and Jichopep do. So through two or three organizations that specifically work with women journalists, female journalists that were applying this winter.
The program also funded individual journalists to write and publish or broadcast professional stories on human rights, gender, peace, and good governance. Diana Wanyonyi is a child of this program. Originally an amateur radio journalist, she ended up winning 11 trophies in 1 year thanks to the Democratic Governance Fund of Canada.
So I applied for 69,000 Kenyan shillings and I was given, and I went to Kinango and Ganze. I've written a few stories on human rights and governance, and just to give an example about how youths used mobile phones to preach peace before and after election. It's the story that won an award at Media Council of Kenya. And on human rights, I've done stories about terrorism, how the families of people who have been tortured or went missing or have been killed. So I've also done such kind of stories. I have recorders, I have a laptop, I have a camera. So practically I have like 11 trophies. It's all because of what KMP taught me, what KMP built in me.
All the civic education initiatives and community mobilization indeed succeeded. Peace returned to the nation. Come the general elections of 2013, Kenya experienced relatively peaceful elections, and though presidential results were contested, there was no serious violation of peace. Another very successful initiative funded by the Democratic Governance Fund of Canada was implemented by the Youth Agenda Organization.
We had also realized that everyone, after the post-election violence was run into the communities, they wanted to do things around Rift Valley, others were in Central Province. But as an institution, we said, no, I think it's important for us to touch those people who are in an organized group, and that's in high school, but who then can actually make or break this country.
The Youth Agenda project was introduced at Kakamega High School in 2010. And at the time of inception, 3 students and 1 teacher attended the seminar to introduce it in Nairobi at Korat. And it is a very welcome program at Kakamega High School. One, because it brings together all the clubs in an endeavor to interpret how students can participate in activities that bring or foster cohesion, not only in the school, but starting in the school and flowing outwards, out of the school into the...
I went to Nairobi with 3 girls representing the school, that is representing the rest of the students. When they came back, they rekindled the fire in the clubs, and they've become more active than they were before. They've seen the importance of clubs as a way of preaching peace. They are also important in teaching us some values in the society.
Before nisome hiyo story, sikuwa na shughulika na wasi wengine kutoka places zingine, lakini after hiyo story kufunzwa na wasi, at last nilikuta tu nataka kujihusisha na wasi wengine hata kama wametoka far.
It's helped me to learn how to live with different characters. It's helped me to socialize with many different people, with people of different characters. It's helped me also to help my friends to change their lives.
Green Friends Foundation, with funding of 50,000 Canadian dollars, implemented the A Child a Tree program in 6 regions across the country. It was commissioned in December 2011 and started operations in selected schools with various activities including debates, cultural dances, and poetry to promote cohesion and national unity. Part of the Canadian Support to Society for International Development, SID, was used to develop a range of inclusive resource allocations. SID worked with both government institutions and NGOs to develop the Equalization Fund and the Gender Responsive Budget, GRB, currently used by parliaments and county assemblies in budget processes. In Kisumu, SID worked with Kefiado.
The budget still, even when we're doing this program, for us as an institution, there was still the issues of gender and responsiveness. So even when the plans are being rolled out, they have to be very gender responsive. Because at the different county levels, we still find that the budgets are not gender responsive. So even if we have an investment plan, how is it going to affect everybody in the different counties in their different ways? So one of the things for us as an institution, we are looking at that the investment plan which has to be done has to have gender transformative aspects in it, so that everybody gains from being an investor in an area, but especially persons with disability also had a challenge. So how do we include persons with disability within the process of the program?
Catholic Diocese of Eldoret was supported to strengthen district peace committees, DPCs, in 13 counties in the Rift Valley, Western and Nyanza regions of Kenya. Apart from engendering the committees, they also addressed issues of gender-based violence even at family level. This project is still ongoing. The Democratic Governance Fund also funded United Nations Women and Center for Multi-Party Democracy, CMD, to strengthen women participation in elections and appointive positions. CMD worked with 27 political parties and trained over 5,000 women. Successful work of the organizations led to the adoption of the 2/3 gender law and 15 women being elected in parliament, including the first Maasai woman, Honorable Perez Tobiko. With support of the Canadian Fund, Kenya Association of Resident Associations, CARA, conducted training on devolution in 16 counties. 840 community leaders were trained, while 30,000 copies of simplified principles of devolution were published and distributed. 9,600 simplified copies of the Devolution Act were also distributed to the public. The Center for Governance and Democracy, CGD, was funded to improve quality of education in primary schools. CGD worked with the National Taxpayers Association, NTA, in the National Schools Scorecard project. As a result, parents in some schools are today undertaking projects addressing different needs in their schools.
Nilimweleza mwalimu mkuu kuhusu habari ya school report card na ile mikakati vile ilivyo, na nashukuru alipokea hiyo. Tuliita wazazi na baadhi ya wazazi tulichagua komiti ambayo ni ya watu 10. Baada ya kuita ile komiti, kulikuwa kuna mambo ya kuangalia kama kuna assignment katika vile vitengo vyote 10 vya school report card. Kwetu sisi tulipokea kama tunakuja kuboresha elimu. Tumefundishwa tuelezane ili tuboreshe elimu shuleni kwetu.